Perfectly. Um,
Are you
Shruti, are
still
you
waiting for some more people? Because I see only 27, including you and me.
Shruti?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we waiting for a few more participants?
I think we can begin. The rest of the people can join.
All right. So, hi everyone. I am Nidhi Rastogi, co-chair for TiE Women 2025 and a women entrepreneur. I'll be the moderator for today's session. Today we have with us Mr. Viiveck Verma from Hyderabad for our third learning session. Topic for today's session is customer acquisition strategies. And I believe it is one of the important thing for any business owner. So before we start, let us know a bit about Mr. Viiveck Verma. Mr. Viiveck Verma is a
कौन सी लोगे
sustainability
मैंने कौन
strategist,
सी लेते हो तुम
catalyst, and
कौन
author.
सी लेते हो कोई भी
Participants, can I please request you to keep yourself on the mute mode?
Dipender Soni. Dipender Soni, if you can keep yourself on mute, please.
All right. He helps catalyze growth for commercial and social enterprises by sharpening strategy and market approaches. His expertise covers innovation, commercialization, brand enhancement, and talent optimization. His work focuses on streamlining operations, bolster governance, and fine tune organizational rhythms, driving excellence across all business facets. We welcome you, Mr. Verma.
Thank
Over
you.
to you now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nidhi. And maybe, Shruti, you'll have to give me the sharing permission for me to be able to share. Okay, I have it. It's nice. Can you all see my screen? Is my screen visible to you people?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay, perfect. So, good evening. Good evening to all of you. As Nidhi mentioned, my name is Viiveck Verma. I'm based in Hyderabad, and I've been a charter member for a little over 10 years. I've been a corporate dropout, as I like to call myself, spent almost 30 years in the corporate world, and about a decade ago, decided to be on my own. Currently run a consulting firm called Upsurge. But I do a fair bit of work with the startups. Even in my 30 years corporate life, I was involved in 10 new companies or idea initiation right from scratch. And ever since I've been working as an independent consultant, I have mentored about 350 startups, invested in 35 of them, and have also been associated with various funds, and also currently run a climate tech virtual incubator called Global Carbon Warriors. So, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is coming from the various experiences that I have gained over a period of time through the corporate life or through the entrepreneurial world for over a decade. And I'll run through some slides, none of which may be rocket science to you, because many of you are, from what I saw as your profiles, many of you have been working on your ideas for some time. Some of you have gone beyond just being at an idea stage. So none of it will be rocket science. And maybe we'll need some time at the end for an interactive session because the idea is really to listen to your questions and try and see if I can address them to the best of my ability. So, if we are talking about customer acquisition, because ultimately that's what business is all about. We want to focus on customer acquisition because that's what will give us the revenue. That's what will lead to profitability. And one of the things that I use with all the startups I work with is to say that the only business of a business is to do business. I know it sounds very easy and simple, but sometimes this becomes the most complicated thing that we create for ourselves as founders. So I'll repeat: the only business of a business is to do business. So if I have to do business, I must find customers, I must earn revenue, I must earn profitability so that I can sustain myself. And that's the only purpose of a business. So how do we look at customer acquisition uh, as a strategy, for all of you who've been in this space and who aspire to either become or maybe beat some of the faces that you see here on the left of my slide. Now, if that is the purpose on which we are going to really spend some time, I think the key is, why does this matter? Why should we even worry about customer acquisition? It's a no-brainer, but all the same, it is because it's the foundation of business growth. Like I just said, that you can't really grow your business until and unless there is a customer who's willing to pay the price that you look at. And I think most important today, and we talk about sustainability as if it's just about the green earth and making the planet a better one. But I think sustainable is also about your sustainable revenue. Can I continue this revenue for a period of time? We don't want to start a business where in the first year we do 5 crores of revenue, and then the next year it becomes 1 crore, and then the year after it becomes 20 lakhs. Because then that's not a sustainable growth. That's not a business which is sustainable. Because you can't make enough money to keep yourself occupied in that space. And especially when we are at an early stage, which many of us are, then it's about our survival. It's about our scaling. This is the first question that anybody asks us when we are a startup founder is, what's the number of customers you have? And how has it been moving over the last few weeks, months, or years? How's the scale happening? And in our case, if we look at specifically with India data, the number is very, very high. Almost 34% of the startups in India are failing because they are not able to show customer traction. And it's not about getting one customer or two customers. It's about getting a critical mass of customers to say that my business model is working and the customers are willing to buy my product with the features that I have at the price point that I'm selling so that I make money. Because if all of these conditions are not met, then the sustainable business cannot happen. And each of these strategies that we talk about for different businesses will be very different. But whatever be the strategy, whatever be the stage, whatever be the sector that you're involved in, getting customer onto your business is a very, very important stage. You don't want to be in that 1/3 of the startups who are today failing because they don't have customer acquisition or they don't have a critical mass of customers. Now, while this is very important, I think the whole space for women entrepreneurs in India today, and that's where we at TiE are very, very focused and committed on this, because this is a huge space where we think we can make a difference, where charter members like me and the chapter that you keep interacting with in Lucknow can make a difference, because this is making a huge difference. 20% plus of Indian MSMEs, which is 6.3 million businesses today, are led by women across the country today. And I think that's not a number that we can ignore anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that number was something that people could ignore. And this also is tip of the iceberg. I think the fact that 50% of the world are women, I see no reason why 50% of all businesses should not be led by women entrepreneurs. So we are getting there. It's a slow journey so far. Hopefully, with programs like this and many more entrepreneurs like you, we'll see a much faster speed of people who are getting into this side of the business. And it's not just about opening a business for the sake of opening a business. These businesses are making a massive difference to the GDP of the country. And if you look at India's contribution alone, $27 billion worth of GDP contribution today is happening from businesses which are led by women. And $27 billion is not a small number when we are talking about, a 3 trillion economy. That's almost 10% of our business is coming from women entrepreneurs. Is that enough? Most certainly it's not. But is it something that one can ignore? Absolutely not. And this business, which is 20% of the businesses contributing 10% plus of the GDP, is growing at a 48% year on year growth when you look at the women startups in India. And these are numbers which are something which you can't ignore any longer. And of course, we'll see some of these examples of people like Nykaa, Zivame, Lijjat Papad, very, very successful businesses, brands that have been built by women. And these are just a few. There are so many more. So it's not just about these three. This is just an example, as I've mentioned here, of notable numbers that you can look at. Now, how do you grow this business? How do you look at a business which is going to acquire customers? There are a few ways in which it can be done. And since we are so focused on customer acquisition strategy, let's jump straight into it. One is to look at the whole e-commerce platform. And today, with the penetration of internet across the country, with the number of people who are today on the internet through their mobile devices, and it's no longer a scenario that you need to have a desktop or connectivity. Everyone is on a mobile device. And it's a very cost efficient method to reach customers in all parts of the country. So you may need to start thinking about the fact that what can I do as an entrepreneur to put my business onto an e-commerce platform. There are many, many platforms, today available that you can use to put your platform, to put your solutions, put your products onto. And today, if you look at just the D2C business, which is where most of us look at our businesses, 60% of that business is driven through these marketplaces, whether it's the Amazons, whether it is the Flipkarts, and many, many, many more that they are. And entry barriers for women entrepreneurs, there is a huge advantage that you have. And payment is a lot more simplified. I'm sure many of you have heard of platforms even like ONDC, which is now becoming more and more popular, where it's even more easier and even more cheaper for you to list your products and see how it can play a role in the B2B space. Uh, Plus, there are these platforms which are on the B2C space. Example, I think Lakme is something which they have used this platform very, very well. Another example is Nykaa, which achieved phenomenal growth by leveraging to become India's really the biggest beauty retailer. Now, how have they done it? What have they done? Is something that we should go and study. But e-commerce is an important strategy for you to say, how do I join the bandwagon and put my product or services onto these e-commerce platforms? Because that can be a smart way of acquiring customers. Big, big, big space today on the consumption that each of us is doing of information today. I mean, if I was to do a poll right now, how much time does each of you spend on one of these platforms like, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, consuming information? Today, it's a huge number. It will be a few hours every day for most of us, which means there is lots of content, there's lots of material that is available. Now, how do you use this channel of putting out information? And that information could be about education around your product, around what needs to happen, because a lot of people go and check things out. So, how do you make sure your information is available so that people can find out about you and then have efficient SEOs and efficient methods for this content leading to your transaction sites? The other is about building communities. How do you create these spaces where customers can engage? Can you create an effective engagement platform? And today on Instagram, we see this all the time. People post a lot of reels where you can kind of engage. Some contests will be there, some influencer will be there. And how do we do that in such a manner that we are building a community and that community keeps growing? And through that community, we look at customers coming to us because a trust is coming because there are people getting engaged and they're beginning to see a community building. And that trust then starts to transfer into loyalty. And loyalty is something which helps us to really lower the customer acquisition cost and also increase the pool of people that are available to whom you can talk. And again, all of us are aware of the Mama-Earth brand, and how they looked at the YouTube channel, uh, helping them to really grow their business from one small location in Ghaziabad to what it become today. So, how do you use content as a method, as a strategy to acquire the customers? How can I put more and more information on the net to people to access it easy and consume it easy and help them take a decision so that they can then transact with you and interact with you on any of the platforms? Needless to say, how do we use the influencer community and how do we use that on the social media space? Many of you may be influencers yourself who have large followings on social media properties, or you may use somebody who has a huge following to endorse your product, and then they become your influencers. How can you make your own customers your influencers? Anybody who's had an experience with your product or service, how can they become an influencer? How do you get more and more people to start talking about you? Because the word of mouth is a phenomenal lower cost customer acquisition strategy. When you look at Instagram, for example, which is because one of the biggest platforms today in terms of where this influencer and social media marketing is big, has 280 million plus accounts and growing very, very rapidly. I can't think of anybody who I interact with who does not have an Instagram account and who does not spend a reasonable amount of time every day on Instagram. And I'll happy to have some of you drop in the chat window if you do not have an account on Instagram and if you don't spend at least half an hour to 1 hour every day on Instagram. And I'll be surprised if I do see some responses. But if there is any of you in the room who is doing it, do message on the chat and we'll kind of come back to that at the end of the presentation and talk to you. A lot of the micro businesses today are thriving on this space. I know enough people who are selling products and services only on social media, and their entire business is just on social media. Now, very important channel because you can transact, see the product, talk to people, look at endorsements, look at people influencing you to take a decision, and then buy the product. Regional language content is far, far better because that helps you to really grow your business. The whole country is looking at languages which are easy for people to comprehend. And as you are penetrating tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 towns, or penetrating the socio-economic status even within the metros, it is important for you to be able to reach out to them in their own language so that they understand and they can relate to what you're saying. And influencer is not just about these fancy film star, Sonu Sood variety influencer. They can also be micro influencers, people who have 10,000 to 50,000 followers. And they generate actually a lot more engagement because people are able to connect to them. They know that if it's a very large influencer, whether sports person or a film star, then quite often it's just a product endorsement deal that they're doing. Whereas if it's a micro influencer, then the possibility of those people being engaged with the brand are a lot more. And they must be using the product, they must have found the product useful. There is more authenticity that they see there rather than just some very, very big stars. So you should also look at micro influencers within your segment, within your geography, within your customer base as to who can influence them and see how can you engage them in that. Again, Kerala entrepreneurs generate 40% of their sales through these Instagram influencer partnerships in local language. So they use this to speak to the new people in Malayali, whether it is about handicraft business, whether it's about their Ayurveda business, whether it's about their medicine business, or many, many other businesses like handicraft. So very important strategy again, that how do you use the influencer and social media in marketing. Now, today's world is becoming more and more collaborative world. It is about saying that how do I work with other people and create a collaboration such that we all win? Because when we start collaborating with people, then you can do multiple things. Starting, which is to say, I can reduce my cost efficiency because I can start running campaigns together and our costs can go down because you will go and spend that much money. Your partner will go and spend that much money. If you have done a good quality partnership, you can come together and jointly spend that money, which benefits both of you. So your individual cost of uh, social media marketing or anything that you do, the campaigns that you run goes down drastically. Sometimes through these partnerships, your access to the market increases drastically because these partners help you to reach new geographies or new channels or new customer segments, which you had not been able to do before. If you are a product which is, let's say, focused on Gen Z, or as I'm told, Gen Alpha, which is coming, the new generation, then if I can partner with somebody who helps me get into that segment, that whole thing suddenly opens. And that's an important customer acquisition strategy that we can look at. How do I work with a partner from whom I can get some trust? If I'm a brand and I can be endorsed, let's say in the pharmaceutical space by 1mg, or if I'm a garment brand and I can be endorsed by a Raymond for a men's clothing or for a Nika for women's clothing or something like that, then the trust is getting transferred to say, since you are connected to them, since they trust you, I think I can also trust you. And that's what we call the trust is getting transferred. And you're borrowing from the credibility of those people with whom you partner. Many people I know, for example, in India, will do anything to partner with a Tata Group. Because as we all know, one of the largest trust factor in the country is with the Tata brand. And if you are connected to the Tata brand, I have that much more trust in you because otherwise you won't be dealing with Tata or the reverse actually. Tata may not be dealing with you. So how do you get that answer? And last but not the least is really how do we get the strategic uh, alliances, which helps us to build brands. If what can I do to my left, to my right, such that we offer a much more holistic solution to our customer and that way benefit because I'm giving some part of that and somebody else is giving some part of that. And then jointly, we are able to give a much more comprehensive overall solution to a client. Again, a successful story here. Zimbabwe's partnership with e-payment platform Midget Parford's tie-up with grocery networks, these are just examples of how when a Midget Parford went to grocery network, they could suddenly open the doors to a whole lot of new channel of distribution. A lot of these grocery stores opened those doors to people's homes, which otherwise were not open to what Legit was doing in their own strategy. And I hope many of you have studied the Legit model. That is one of the better known methods of a rapid growth over a long period of time and benefiting people really at the grassroots. So it's doing multiple ticks for people because they've built many of these, whether it be cost efficiency, market access, transferring of trust, because I trust the local grocery store. And if they are stocking this product, then I'm more likely to buy that product. And of course, doing some kind of an MOU or a strategic alliance with that company. Another way, and many people have started using this for a while, is to build good quality referral and loyalty programs. But how do you really give weight to this whole word of mouth? How do I give um, some benefit to the people who are being loyal to me? How can I really incentivize the loyalty that they have with me or the reference that they can make to other people because they love our brand? And very, very trusted method. So if I know somebody in my family tells me I've bought this product and it's very good, then my trust factor goes up drastically and the propensity of me taking a decision in that favor is much, much higher. Or a close friend of mine, or a person whose kind of opinions I value or I respect. And quite a lot of these trusted acquisition driver, is this most trusted acquisition thing happens through this channel. So how can I build good quality referral and loyalty programs? And it gives you a much higher retention because these are customers who are coming through a very strong channel and hence will stay with you much, much longer. And today, uh, if you look at the numbers specifically from India, it's very, very high. It's true in most parts of the world, but in India, 73% of the consumers trust that if they get a recommendation for a friend. Most of us, when we want something, the first source we go to is that group of WhatsApp or that group of people who we know and ask that I'm thinking of buying a new air conditioner for my house. Which is the best one to take? And then you'll have a bunch of recommendations coming to you. And then you'll pick the one from the person who you think makes the best decision in that space. And I think in that sense, it's a very, very trusted and a low cost, high loyalty method of a customer strategy. And if you can structure a referral program, so it's not less limited to loyalty, you're now helping them to transfer the loyalty to get you new customers. So you can run a referral program which will help transfer this satisfaction to new bunch of customers. And it's a very powerful because it's low cost, powerful because it has retention, and powerful because it builds trust, which is one of the most important factors that people look at in a brand. Now, some of that what we talked about so far, you could sit and do centrally. So if you are in Lucknow, you could do it, across UP or maybe even across India. But I think at some point you also have to start looking at what can I do as a more localized activity, as a more community engagement at the local level, which means what do I do at a regional level to tweak my campaign, which is more suited for the regional context, the regional culture, festival, language, because then my penetration becomes much, much higher. My understanding becomes much, much more deeper, and people connect to it much more easily. How can I do? See, trust also is a matter of do you have a physical presence here? Are you doing workshops? Are you putting up pop-ups? Are you doing local events? Are you creating method by which I can connect with you locally and I know you are around? You have your presence here. And how can you really craft engagement? You know, uh, for example, how does Ricky Kumar does his local craft workshops, which build a whole lot of things in terms of cultural relevance. What are you building which is very specific to a particular geography? How can you do an engagement to showcase that and hence build a brand, build loyalty, and build a good strategy around acquiring customers using this localized engagement? Very, very important, not just for customer acquisition, but anything and everything you do. It is about your ability to tell a story. I say this very, very often also because I run the TEDx Hyderabad platform. I'm the curator and licensee. And I think one of the best platforms around the world is a TEDx platform where you hear a lot of stories and you can learn from that as to how do you go and build a very strong, powerful, and yet authentic narrative that you can take to people. How do you bring all of these elements of being creative, having good content, having a history, having some experience, you know, communicating very well in an emotional manner that you can tell people a story? I say that everyone, each of us are human beings individually, and each of us as a business has a story to tell. Some of us have the ability to tell it nicely, and some of us don't. And that determines the difference between success and not as successful. So you need to really learn the art of telling these stories, personalizing those stories, connecting to people at an emotional level so that that transaction builds trust. 73% of the new generation prefers brands which are relatable stories that they hear about the founder. Oh, this founder was somebody like me, and that's how they built this brand, and they're building it for our generation. So they understand our requirements much better than some of the earlier elder generation people uh, who don't understand. And this storytelling helps you to really overcome those challenges that people may have. A lot of these challenges people have because they're dealing with, you know, a brand set of people who they don't know about. If you have a powerful story that you tell and build a strong storytelling mechanism or a personal branding, then this can help you to overcome these challenges. And last but not the least, are really cultural values that you can build into your branding and storytelling, which enhance the whole brand perception. How do I localize my story so that I can relate to people? If I talk to somebody in Moradabad and I talk about a New York story, it may not resonate. So, how do I bring it and put a cultural context of what happens around Moradabad in that story so that they can then perceive my brand to be much, much better? And again, you know, look at, you'll see a lot of examples coming from the Ledger brand because I personally think they've really done a wonderful job in terms of what they've done in terms of growing their business. So if you look at their case of, you know, from an 80 rupee loan that they took to building a business which is so large today. And how have they done it is because they have such a powerful story to tell. Uh, just one second. Somebody is trying to desperately call me. So we need to really learn the art of storytelling. And this is something that each of you needs to do, not just for customer acquisition, but even for investment, even for policy influence, even for government support, for grants if you're seeking. Each of these places, the story is going to make a massive difference. And hence, it's important that you learn this art of storytelling and creating a brand, a personal brand for yourself and a brand for your business that you're talking. Today, the entire world is digital. Everyone is consuming, like we said earlier, information on our devices, whether it's mobile, whether it is laptops, whether it is iPads, or whatever else it is. So how do I join that bandwagon and start looking at finding campaigns, which is advertising campaigns that I run on the digital smart platforms? There are lots and lots of campaigns which are on Google, Facebook, where you can run some amount of expense in a very targeted manner to a particular demographic, whether it be age, whether it be the gender, whether it be the socioeconomic status, whether it be a geography, and then target those customers, and that will give you a far good return. For example, I know many people who run businesses in the educational space. They will go and create a persona of the customer and then target that customer for them to come to their business where they can come and learn a new skill or learn a new knowledge platform that they're running. They're very important of kind of testing, and experimenting with different platforms and then seeing what works best for you. What's the best channel for you? What are the parameters that you should use for targeting? What are the landing pages that you should do? Because if you do some work on this, then your uh, you know optimized level can give you a conversion rate which is significantly better. And I think it's something which is very important. So that's important. Then it's a question of remarketing campaigns. How do you re-engage the visitors who showed interest but didn't convert? All of us in our businesses have that. We run campaigns, people come, they engage with us, but they may not have transacted with us. But they know about us. They have come to our pages, whether social media or website, and we can go back and retarget them. Again, many businesses, this will be applicable. We look at cosmetic business, we look at education business. A lot of times people come, study about it, look at it, and then say, okay, when I need to take a decision, I'll take it that time and leave it. But we have the data. How do we retarget them? How do we go back to them? Because my cost of customer acquisition will go down. I already have some data. I don't have to spend as much as I have to spend on a cold new customer that happens. Now, if these are the strategies that we are talking about, you know, what are the customer segmentation that we should do? I hope all of you have kind of by now built a customer persona and identified who your target customer is going to be. And if you have that persona, then you know that today, from a geographic standpoint, there is a easy customer segmentation that you can do, which is between tier one, tier two, and then tier three plus towns. And each of this customer persona is very different. A tier one city is a metro consumer, has a higher spending power, has a very high brand consciousness, and is very convenience driven because that's the kind of lifestyle they live. As against that, a tier two is an emerging market, is value seekers. They are looking at digital adoption growing and it growing very rapidly and are extremely aspirational in nature. And they will do a lot more aspirational purchases than the tier one people will do. And last but not the least is the smaller towns in India. And many of you may be coming from those towns. Many of us have grown up in those towns. Are people who are in what is called smaller cities, rural India, extremely price sensitive. For them, local language is very important. So the content in vernacular is very important. And they come from a very orthodox, traditional values. And are people who get influenced by community a lot. Now, why is this important? Is because then your acquisition strategy and your content strategy and your, engagement strategy with the customer will depend on the customer persona. And I've only taken a geography as one method of customer segmentation. But it's important that you target your customers knowing your customer persona. And that's very, very important because that way your value for every rupee you spend is much, much better. And today, 46% of India's digital shoppers now come from non-metros. So if your campaigns are focused only on tier one cities, then you're losing out to almost half the customer segment today. And that's a huge number to ignore. And you obviously cannot afford to ignore. Again, local channels, local languages, local campaigns make a big difference if you can do that, and it can enhance, like you see in the case of Nike, but 65%. Because they have looked at a campaign, they've looked at a segmentation and used the segmentation to their best advantage. Now, data, as they say, is the most important factor today. There is so much data getting generated all the time. So how do you use this data? How do you use the insights that this data is pointing you to make your customer acquisition strategy far better, deeper, and cheaper is all through using data-driven strategies. And today there are so many tools which will give you tracking of the customer journey. What do they do? Which page of my website are they really engaging more with? Which of my platforms are they doing it? What is the cohort analysis? So a bunch of customers put together, how do they behave compared to somebody else? What kind of predictive modeling can I do? If it's a festival season coming up and you run a brand or a service which is higher consumption during festival season, then what kind of predictive modeling can you do? And how can you also possibly identify churns or people leaving you and stop using your product and start working on that already? And lots of data today is being driven. There are companies who are becoming large businesses because they're doing this analysis and giving it to their customers. So how do you either do it yourself or engage with an agency or an individual who can help you do this data-driven customer acquisition strategy? Because this again shows huge benefit and improves your ROI drastically because your funnel improves, your customer acquisition improves, your cost of customer acquisition or CAC, customer acquisition cost as we call it, goes down. Now, all this we do, does it mean that there are going to be no challenges? Well, welcome to the real world. That's not going to happen. And that's what you and me deal with on a daily basis. One of the biggest things for a startup is obviously limited budget. I have only those many resources. Now, how do I put my resources to the best utilization? Because if I had unlimited money, I'll go on Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, and website and marketplaces and employ an agency will give me fantastic data-driven strategy. And like that, go on and build the whole 9 yards of customer acquisition strategy. But let's welcome ourselves to the real world where that unlimited resource is never available. Neither is it available today, nor I can guarantee you will it be available tomorrow. So in a limited budget, how do I prioritize what will give me the best return on my interest, on my business, or my money that I spend? Which will give me the best customer relationship in the long run? And I should put my money and energy around that. The other thing is that, there are some taboos, there are some topics that we have to deal with sensitively. For example, Zimame had a big challenge around the lingerie taboo, and they had to really create a different set of content. Sometimes, in our desire to convey something, we have to be careful that we are not upsetting some social taboo, not upsetting some belief system that people may have locally. And this is where the localization is important. something which may be okay in Kerala may not be okay in Jammu and Kashmir. Something which is okay in Gujarat may not be okay in Mizoram. So how do we make sure that we are not doing something which will land us into a difficult situation? And last but not the least is that how do we uh, get access to finance? We all want funding. We all want to grow. And one of the important ingredients for growth is access to fund or access to finance. Now, how do I get that through incubators, through accelerators, through networking organizations like TiE? Many of you will benefit in your partnership with TiE because TiE will help you get access to this finance and also work with people who can give you grants, especially at the beginning. It's a very important resource for startups to look at is to get grants. If that's equity free money, and gives you the freedom without diluting any of your shareholding to get money to experiment, check your go to market, check your market fit, and then scale. Now, if you're doing this, what are the important metrics you should measure to tell you that is your customer acquisition strategy working or not working? Is to really look at these three numbers. One is your cost per acquisition, which should typically be a number, and the benchmark is 250 to 600, but I know it's a very wide range for a D2C brand, and similarly 800 to 1500 for fashion. Now, some of you may know that your costs are in this ballpark already. Some of you may see it's much higher, and hopefully at least some of you see that it's much lower than this. But it's important to track your customer cost of acquisition because that will drive, and as you scale, your cost per acquisition should steadily keep going down because you're getting the volumes and your benefit of scale is giving you that advantage. If that's not happening, then I think you have to look at your strategy all over again and say, why is my customer acquisition cost not going down? The second is that if I'm going to spend this kind of money, whether it's 200 or 600 or 1500, then what is the lifetime value I'll get from my customer? So if I acquire this customer by spending 1,000 rupees, am I at least getting, 3 is to 1 or 5 is to 1, which means at least 3,000 or 5,000 rupee worth of sale from this customer over the life cycle of my association with them? Because if that's not happening, then the lifetime value is low, and that ratio is not the right ratio. Your LTV to CAC, it should be 3.3 is to 1 or higher. And last but not the least is the repeat purchase rate. Your lifetime value will go up only when your customers are coming back to you and making additional purchases. And that is a very, very important aspect. And if you can achieve 30% plus repeat rates within 6 months, then you know that you're in a good space. And your strategy is working because that matrix is really showing you positive signs. And you should look at looking at these three. Now, what is the power of networking and mentoring? I mean, this whole program that you're part of, TiE Lucknow, similarly, we are running a same program in Kerala. And that happened just a few days ago, where, you learned all of these things that we are talking about today and all the sessions that you've attended or will attend. And this networking is very, very, very important. And somehow this is a bit of a taboo when it comes to women because a lot of people think networking is only something which men do more easily, which is not correct. And if you have that feeling, then you have to work a little more harder to say that how do I, as a women entrepreneur, still use this tool of networking? How do I attend more and more events? How do I meet places where my customers are there so that my visibility goes up? And on this slide, I want to just spend a little bit of time on mentoring. I think it is very important that each of you identify a mentor, somebody who's going to be your sounding board somebody you can be fully truthful with, and somebody who will be truly truthful to you and will give you honest, direct feedback and tell you what's going well, what's not going well, and can help you think differently. Because if you can find the right mentor, your success rate can change by up to 50%. It's a big difference that it can make because you have somebody who's guiding you. So make sure you find a very good mentor because they can help you shorten your life cycle times that you take in doing different things. They can give you knowledge that you don't have. They can give you experience that you may not have had in the past, but they've had. And last but not the least, they can give you access to both on the customer side or on the investment side because they are working in this space. So networking is important and finding the right mentor and finding a mentor. In my view, every startup, every founder should have at least one mentor, maybe two or three mentors. I think these are things that you all know probably much better than I do. Look at the case studies of, deep dive in terms of Nika. What have they done? They've really done an aggressive influencer marketing with experts. They've really done a tiered referral program. They've looked at localized playbooks. They've looked at educational content on makeup and how do you apply that makeup and created an omni-channel distribution network. And by doing that, they've kind of benefited tremendously. Today she is seen as a very successful entrepreneur and who's created a space for themselves, created a huge brand, and doing it very successfully. Another brand, Zivame, I mean, in the space of retail, they've really found a method to take the whole lingerie market into the Indian society and do a whole uh, innovation around the whole problem of fit calculator. How do you solve that problem for a customer? Very nice packaging, very good content again that they are taking out an omni-channel network. So it's a combination of all of that that they have been able to do to really help their customer acquisition strategy get to the point that they've gotten. Digit Papad, like I said, something that I very strongly uh, feel passionate about, starting way back in 1959 by some seven women, just 80 rupees, created a whole cooperative model employing women from low income group. Today is a 1600 crore brand employing 45,000 women. And it's an iconic brand today, which is recognized across the country and even outside of the country by many, many people as a very strong women founded platform. So, what are you going to take away from today? I think is, in my view, this is what I think you should look at, that how do you create authentic connections? How do you prioritize what you're doing, which includes community building, storytelling, to create an emotional bond with your target audience? You have to first know your target audience. So, your customer persona is important. And then how do you build a connect to them and build a emotional bond with them so that then they can keep buying from you and your customer acquisition costs can keep going down? How do you use the digital platforms? Because that's the way things are going to be, not just today, but even in the future. And last but not the least, how do you create local nuances? How do you not go with one size fits all and you talk about local, regional language, and all of that that needs to happen doing that. And while doing it, track your return on investment across all acquisition channels and see which one is working for you. Experiment, because without trying, you won't know what's working, what's not working. But don't spend too much time experimenting. Try it, see if it works, carry it forward, doesn't work, drop it, move forward. Keep learning from that journey. Most certainly use the TiE Lucknow network. And TiE Lucknow will help you open up the whole TiE global network for you. So use it for mentoring, use it for networking, use that whole thing in the best possible manner. And look at government programs, which will help you get some easy access to grants or to customers or to networks that you may want outside of your location. And last but not the least is again joint customer communities that you build where you can use the same intelligence into collaborative activities and collaborative efforts. And that's, I think, what I had in terms of slides. If any of you want to connect with me, I have a slightly funny spelling. I have an extra I and an extra C in Viiveck Verma. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I write almost on a weekly basis. So you can connect with me and I can share some of the things that I learn through these articles, through my posts, or you could even reach out to me on a one-on-one basis if there's anything that you require from myself. And with that, I think my slides are over, and I'd be happy to really have a conversation with any of you who has a question or who has a doubt, who even has a disagreement with something that I said right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Viiveck Verma. Participants, we are open for Q&A. In case you have any questions, please raise your hands. Any questions?
And if you have no questions, that it only means one of the two things, that either I did a wonderful job and explained everything and you understood everything, or I did a horrible job and all of you are saying, what's the point in asking a question? Let's not even further waste time and ask the question. So which one of it is true? If not, then ask. And last thing I want to let you know is that questions are the first thing that an entrepreneur must learn to ask. Because without asking, you're not going to move your learning journey ahead. Quite often we shy away from asking a question because we think we are exposing our naivety or our dumbness, if I may call it that, by asking a question. But you'll be surprised that 50 other people must be having the same question, but they are shy. So open the door for
They
them,
just
ask
not
the
ask.
question.
And participants, this is a learning.
Sir,
Yeah, please, Pratima, go ahead.
yes, I have to say something. Yes, so you have done a wonderful job. I understood your concepts because I heard these concepts and they really aligned with it. Neetu Bansal, she is associated with Wadhwani Foundation. So I'm really happy that these concepts and what she told are all aligning. And I have applied certain concepts with my venture also. But we need to, all of us, all entrepreneurs or founders who are here associated in this meeting, need to practice these things with what you said or what you guided us. So we will be doing it in due course of time. And if at all there will be any doubts or we feel like we need more guidance, we will let the team know about it.
And ask
Thank you
and
so
build a
much.
cohort between all of you. You are now connected to each other. One of the best things that entrepreneurs can do is to learn from each other. So one is to reach out to us as a mentor, and I'm happy, and many of us as mentors at TiE will be very happy because that's what our entire objective at TiE is, to mentor people. But you know what? If you reach out to one of your fellow entrepreneurs in this program or elsewhere, they will give you a real experience because they've been through what you've been going through. That's what all of you go through all the time. So use
Yes.
this network of, all of you. I'm told there are almost about 70 people in this program. I see 35, 40 of them on this call today. Many others, even if you can reach out to each other, it will make a big difference. So yes, Pratima, learn from your mistakes, learn from others' mistakes, reach out to us as mentors, reach out to TiE Lucknow. They'll help you connect to more and more people.
Yes, sir, because listening and then applying the things that we learn, when we apply the things, we come to know about the practical doubts and the practical blocks that we feel when we are applying the knowledge. So when we are doing it, then only we will come to know that what are the problems that we are facing. Even I am also facing certain problems which I will be discussing because I have to note it down and then discuss with the team or with the entrepreneurs who are there at the incubator center, and will definitely be
Fantastic.
back with all my doubts, sir. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. All the best, Pratima.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, Vivek sir.
Yes.
You mentioned about the storytelling and networking aspects.
Yes,
As a
Dr.
beginner,
Usha.
just we started 1 year ago. As of right now, just we are in the process of creation of the things only, or design and the development aspects.
Mhm.
Yeah, at what level we can prepare storytelling aspects?
So Dr. Usha, storytelling starts from the time you had an idea.
Yes.
So it is at the early stage because what is your idea? See, when you come to me, whether I'm your customer, your investor, your mentor, or a government or anybody else, what are you telling me? You're telling me your idea. Now, the best way of telling that idea is in the form of a story,
Okay.
because
Any
we are tuned as humans to listen to stories. All of us have grown up listening to stories when we were small. Stories is a very effective way of communicating whatever you're wanting to communicating, starting from an idea. So, to your question, when should you start the art of storytelling? Right from day zero. When you're thinking of an idea, what is your idea? What problem are you solving? If this problem is not solved, what is the impact of it on the world? How are you solving it? And how will the customer benefit from your solution? All of it, if you can do it in the form of a nice story, then your chances of success go up tremendously.
okay.
So you should develop stories right from the beginning and keep fine tuning it. The stories will keep on improving as you, because the more we tell, the more our confidence will grow, the more feedback we will get. And each of this is a learning loop, and I'll keep on learning and becoming better. If I tell the same story 10 times, any of you, if you're part of BNI, for example, you would know this whole business of storytelling. BNI forces you to tell your story every single week, 52 times a year. And you have to become an expert because otherwise there's no choice. You have to come every meeting and tell your story.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Verma, hi, this is Manisha.
Yes,
Uh,
Manish.
I appreciate the way you conducted the entire session, and like you mentioned that either you did a horrifying job or maybe something which is self-explanatory. So I would say that self-explanatory word should go for you because the kind of case studies that you have mentioned and covering up in every slide is gonna be an eye-opener. I have personally noted down some of them, which probably I'm gonna apply to our startup. Uh, Except that there are other suggestions, so I'm glad that I had that checklist with me and I was just ticking in that whatever things that we have applied, are we on the same line? So gladly most of them I have checked in.
Very
And
good.
since I personally don't have any question to ask as of now, presently, because as I said, the session was so smooth and so patiently conducted by you. So most of the things have been um, given us insight that where we are lacking, and it is like easy for me to uh, differentiate which way we should move ahead to. So
Mm,
thank you so much. This is just an appreciation message from my side, and I have connected to you over the LinkedIn part as well. I would love to
thank you.
stay in touch. And just in case I come across with anything where I would be needing your support or suggestion, I'll definitely come and reach back to you.
No problem. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you for the kind words and happy to help in whatever manner whenever required. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. In the end, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your contribution, Mr. Viiveck Verma, in our session today. Your insights were incredibly valuable and added depth to the knowledge of our participants. Thanks for all your time, and we look forward to have more informative sessions with you in the future. Thank you so
Thank
much, sir.
you. Thank you very much, Nidhi, and thank you to all of you for joining and listening to me. Wish you all the best and wish you great success ahead. Make the best use of this program. Be in touch with TiE Lucknow. So much so that they should be fed up of you asking all kinds of questions to them, because make the best use of this. That's what we at TiE are here for, to give you answers as far as possible. We don't claim that we have all the answers, but as much as we have, we want to help you because we want to foster entrepreneurship, which is the motto for TiE. So make the best use of it. And I would wish you all the best. And thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so
All the
much.
best.
Thank you, Nidhi, for organizing such a good section. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you.